I'd like to learn more from you about what you see as the border issues and how that's not the border that you know.
Well, I guess what I'm saying when I say issues means something problematic. That's just how I see issues. So when I think of an issue, I think the rallies, people fighting for something that's happening in the border. And when I say border, see, the thing is that when people say border, they don't think of Mexico. I mean, the border should be both sides, right? So we also have problems in the border of Mexico. But because we're here in the United States and Arizona, we think of borders as more inclining to the problems that are happening in the border of Arizona, Texas. And that's a little bit unfair, right? What's happening is that because we have a lot of laws that are probably necessary to protect the country, creates a lot of this situation that's living in Mexico, people wanting to cross here, doesn't mean that everybody wants to come here. There's a lot of people that I know that live in Mexico and they're happy and they're successful. They don't have any reason to come here. So when I say issues, it just seems a little, I would just say they're border problems. I think the issue just comes from people or politicians trying to create laws like Ohio. They just seem so angry. It's like it just seems so unfair, but at the same time, you can't really take away the laws to protect the country, to protect the people. I don't know. There's just like a really, really fine line there. And when I think of issues, I just think immigration. I think issues that they think of, like there's a lot of people that are getting murdered in Mexico, and now they all want to come here. They're gonna kill us here, And I see all that stuff, and it's a little bit silly for me. I think the bigger issue there, more than just the border, it's just like at a human level. At what point are we gonna start talking about others as different? So I'm trying to just be a little bit more open there. I don't know how, hopefully there'll be some sort of way to solve the issues, but even if they were solved, I think the issues are more in our heads, personally, in everybody. Because even if there was racism and some laws protected them and it just disappeared, there's nothing that could change people's mentalities, because we're all so different. And part of it's education too. So there are all kinds of levels of education. So like to change society takes more than just changing a law, I think. And so I guess I don't really find a way to solve the issues, but just to be educated as what's going on, and to understand that in Mexico, where I'm from or where I was raised, it hasn't always been bad. It's nothing to really be scared of. I mean, it's really bad right now over there. Everybody's scared. Pretty much everybody's in fear, but it's not like everybody's going to kill you. It's just this media, society. I mean, I'm not saying it's not bad. I mean, it could be bad anywhere. So, I don't know, did that answer your question?
What is the border, Fausto, that you knew? When you say you knew something different, what was that experience? What was the time that you
Well, I was going to compare it to my life now, but I guess it's really hard because everybody's got different lives now. But growing up, I just pretty much the ordinary, I guess. I just went to school, drove around. I mean, I went to school. I was raised in a middle class family. A lot of my friends are middle class. There's a lot of education over there. Good schools too. I did all my school in Mexico, and then I wanted to study architecture. And there weren't many schools around that I wanted to go to study architecture, so I decided to study graphic design. And the closest school that I wanted to go was in El Paso, Texas. So I enlisted to go to classes in El Paso, living in Mexico. And I crossed the border every day for 6 years and a half. And and it took me about an hour to cross the border from where I was. And it was really common back then. It was like a lot of people just cross the border every day. Even now, my dad and my sister cross the border. My dad lives in Mexico, and my sister bought a house in El Paso, and they visit each other every day. So it's a common thing to cross the border every day. And so I did that for years. I mean, people will be in Juarez, and then they want to go shopping, and they go to El Paso. It's like, it's that close. And all you need is your legal to go in, you know, your passport or visa or whatever it might be. So, I mean, that was just really common. I never really, because that happened to me all my life, I never really questioned how difficult it might be to just cross the border. That was just never an issue for me. It was just so easy to just go and shop. You know? So that's one thing. The other thing is, just like any society that's in good standing with, the city was beautiful. I mean, Juarez used to have a beautiful golf courses and parks. And, I mean, people, when they started being successful like every other, they would buy nice cars. You know, there would just be all these kind of beautiful, not that they're beautiful, but not the materialistic things are beautiful. But you can see when a city is in safe standing, when they take care of the city and people are comfortable. So, I mean, it was just like that. It was just normal, you know. I would just go cruising on weekends, have family Sunday brunches with, I don't know, 50 family members are there. And I did all my school over there. All my best friends live in Mexico. So it was just very, I don't know. I don't really have any issues, you know. I mean, I don't really have any regrets or problems, or I'm not running away from anybody. I just happened to graduate in 2 degrees in Texas, and with the connections that I made there, just kind of kept leading to other things, which I ended up being here. But if I would have stayed in Mexico, I probably would have done as good just moving to Mexico City, which I have some friends that do that. So I don't know. I have a very that's just how I feel. It's just like I have different vision of the borders. And I'm not completely always fighting the cause, you know, because I feel it's not my calling to change people's mentalities with my work. But I don't mind speaking about it outside of my work. It's just I'm hoping that people understand that as a person, I'm trying to understand who I am, and I just want to grow. I just want to grow mentally and spiritually more than what I know. I mean, these issues have already been, they're part of my life, and I'm just exploring pretty much outside of my boundaries. And this is my work. And it's not perfect. I'm also learning. I'm also a student, so by doing these P's, it was just kind of going back a little into showing people where I'm from. Even though I want to keep forward, you know, I just want to move on. And but it's received a lot since I'm here in Arizona. It's received a lot of. It's been displayed at the Phoenix Art Museum, and it's going to be at the Tucson Museum, University of Arizona Museum of Art, and then it's going to be at the Herd. So it's going to receive. It's going to be at the Herd Museum. But
yeah, and it's gifted to the Herd Museum.
Yes, and they'll take it after.
Very generous.
Yes, so
it's an exciting thing to have this painting going into the permanent collection of the Herd Museum.
Yes, yeah, no, it's just amazing, and especially since they talk about cultures, and it's necessary. I should say, because people ask me all the time, well, you're not Native American. How are you at the Herd Museum? But the reason I'm there is because the remix show that they had in 2008 was about indigenous people all over America. And by talking about all over America, they were thinking about indigenous in my country. Every country, we're indigenous to our country. So the show was talking about that, just those examples. I mean, we're all indigenous from our countries. And they were just exploring. I was there as a Mexican American, and there was Mexican Italian, Mexican, and African American, and so they were just exploring everything. So they chose me because I was Mexican American, indigenous of my country. So, and well, I guess I'm an American citizen, but by birth, but I never lived here. I always lived in Mexico, and my whole culture is Mexican. I'm also trying to understand the Chicano movement because a lot of people want to label me as a Chicano, and I'm trying to understand that. My culture is purely Mexican. We never question Chicanos. We don't really have the Chicano movement or Chicano lifestyle artwork in Mexico. That was all new to me in the last 10 years. And it's interesting, I like it. I find it a little bit distant to me. And I find it difficult in that we're all Mexican, but then we do different things and stand for different things. So when they include me in shows that are related to the border, and a lot of issues are as 31070 immigration, it leads me to think that there are issues that are happening on this side of the border, which is not my side of the border, on that side. So, as an artist, I'm trying to be a contemporary artist. You know, I want to be able to be that Mexican that transcended the border, even though I'm on the border. Something like that. I don't know exactly what I'm saying. Anyway.